Good morning, everyone. Live from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. I'm Director Dr. Rick Knabb. 11 a.m. update on Hurricane Sandy. Still a hurricane with maximum sustained winds at 75 miles per hour, moving off to the northeast at 14 miles an hour, centered about 250 miles to the southeast of the North Carolina coastline. But because Sandy is a large system, tropical storm conditions continue in eastern North Carolina, where tropical storm warning is in effect. Don't want people to be focusing on the exact center of this hurricane because it is so large. It is going to be impacting a lot of people beginning well before the center eventually comes ashore in the mid-Atlantic northeast area and lasting long time thereafter. Let's take a look at the forecast path, and for those of you just on audio, what we're going to see is this continued northeastward motion today over relatively warm water, so there is this fuel for the system to maintain its intensity for the next day as a tropical cyclone, and then it will bend around to the northwest over cooler waters, but because it will be feeling the influence of non-tropical energy in the atmosphere, we anticipate it will be able to maintain some intensity as it makes the transition to a post-tropical cyclone, and that is not necessarily going to impact what kind of hazards are experienced. Regardless of tropical or post-tropical, several hazards are going to be affecting not just coastal areas, but many inland areas as well. First, let's talk about storm surge. The storm surge is going to be impacting a very large area. It's hard to pinpoint exactly who is going to receive what, but in terms of some of the hot spots, because of the shape of the coastline capturing a lot of the water that will be pushing onshore on the northern side of this circulation, we could see 4 to 8 feet above ground level of total water level due to the combination of storm surge and tide, anywhere from about Ocean City, Maryland, around to the Connecticut, Rhode Island border, and even places east of there, coastal south-facing areas of Massachusetts in the 3 to 6 foot range, Narragansett Bay, Buzzards Bay, for example. But then within that area, Long Island Sound in the New York Harbor area, that is where some spots could see water levels above ground of 6 to 11 feet. Not everywhere is that going to happen, but that is the potential above ground level combination of surge and tide, especially right near the immediate coastline. And this will be a long duration event, so the water levels could ebb and flow a little bit over multiple tidal cycles, but with the peak of 6 to 11 feet perhaps occurring especially if the highest surge occurs at around the time of the highest tide. Because we're anticipating this transition from tropical to post-tropical, the area north of North Carolina is being handled with non-tropical warnings. But just to give you an idea, we are expecting hurricane force winds in coastal areas, the northern Delmarva, the middle and upper Chesapeake Bay, the coast of New Jersey, the Delaware Bay, Long Island, the New York City area, Connecticut, Rhode Island coastlines. All of these areas we're expecting hurricane force winds, and so this is going to be just as impactful in terms of the strength of the wind as if it were a fully tropical hurricane. Rainfall totals could reach a foot. This is going to be a flooding potential well inland and a wind potential going well inland for several days into the middle of the week.
The storm is still a Category 1 storm, but it's got an incredibly low central pressure. 951 is the pressure. And, you know, one thing that happens when people are going into these types of events is they compare what happened in the past to what's going to happen. And they might think, well, gosh, I've been through a Category 1 hurricane. I lived in this area. I've lived in this area for years and years and years. So I know what that's all about. But you don't know what that's all about in this case, because this storm really belies its category. It's much more than a Category 1 storm. It's very, very large. It's going to be a very long-lasting event, and this pressure is really a measure of the amount of energy that is in the atmosphere at this time. So comparatively, you can get a hurricane with a pressure in the low 990s, and when you get down into the low 950s, some of the great storms in history have been in that range. For example, Hurricane Ike back in 2008 also had a pressure in the low 950s, and the models are suggesting that the pressure could get even lower. So this is a tremendous storm. I want to show you the area of strong winds. So this is a big part of what we're concerned about. That's already now coming into the Delmarva, even though it's a long, long way from the center of the storm. Then by tomorrow morning, we're thoroughly into the storm along the 95 corridor. High wind warnings in effect from Boston down through the tri-state area into Philly and into D.C. Don't think that what you're getting on Monday morning is the way that it's going to be. It's going to get worse. It's going to really step up through the afternoon and through the evening hours. We start to get into hurricane force wind gusts, and that could be a real problem in these major metros, especially as you go up, you get up in elevation, you get up to the level of high rises, and the winds will get even stronger at that level. And this is going to go on for a long period of time. These high wind warnings extended for 36 hours. Hurricane force winds possible for 36 hours there in Philadelphia and Atlantic City, where the center of the storm comes on shore. And all while this is going on, it's going to be pushing the water against the coast.
As the surf picks up and Hurricane Sandy barrels north from the Caribbean, residents are bracing for a rare superstorm. One that could cause havoc from the East Coast to the Great Lakes. Forecasters say Sandy could affect 50 to 60 million people, perhaps even more.
It's all hands on deck for us. You know, managers, supervisors, everybody out here.
Forecasters say what makes this storm so dangerous is it is coming at the tail end of the hurricane season and the start of the winter storm season. And governors from North Carolina to Connecticut have already declared states of emergency. Experts say the storm will most likely hit the southern New Jersey coastline by late Monday or early Tuesday.
My major concern right now is the wind.
I got water, I got gas can, batteries. My wife's in line for a generator just in case. So.
Delaware has ordered mandatory evacuations for coastal communities. New Jersey plans to close its casinos over the weekend. And half a dozen states are warning residents to prepare for several days of lost power. Ed Donahue, The Associated Press.
That water is piling up now along with all that wave action. That's what's headed for the coastline. And because of the nature of the coastline, this could be very bad indeed in New York City. Because of this L shape, the water sort of converges there, which maximizes the potential. It'll be coming up through the Raritan Bay, then getting into New York Harbor, and also coming down Long Island Sound. Now, we had a 4.5-foot surge in Irene. This could actually top that, and we came very close to causing major transportation problems there in New York City. You know, if you get enough water in these subways, these subterranean tunnels, you've got a lot of wiring in there. You get seawater in there. You can't use that wiring anymore. It's got to be ripped out, and that can take weeks.
It rusts.
Yes.
And then it becomes completely unusable.
Exactly.
It could, I mean, would you anticipate then a significant impact to the transit system in New York?
If we get that flooding in the subways, you've got 8 million people who use that every day. And this could be amazing if that happens.
What would have to happen, though, is the center would have to make a landfall, likely in New Jersey. Though,
yes, on the central coast of New Jersey, piling up all that water. And the thing is, it'll continue even after the storm moves in. This is Tuesday morning, by the way. Look at this. I mean, this is unbelievable. You can see the outline of the United States right through here. Look at the area of strong wind extending up into Canada, out to Wisconsin, down through the southeast, and covering the entire eastern seaboard. That gives you a sense of just how incredibly large. Now here's a look at the timing of everything. This is Sunday. The wind's increasing to 25 to 45 miles per hour through the day today. Winds gusting to 60 miles per hour plus. And then tomorrow is going to be the big day, and it's going to get a lot worse through the day tomorrow. So don't think if you go out tomorrow morning, you're wondering whether to go to work, it's okay. Maybe I can make it. It's going to get a lot worse through the course of the day.
Is the BP oil spill location. So let's go look at it in 3D right after this. I want to bring this up because everybody's talking about methane coming out of the Gulf. Total SA had a 350 million cubic foot methane leak that lasted from March 25th to May 15th, 2012. Up in the North Sea, here's all the details on that. And then just recently, from NBCnews.com, climate changing methane rapidly destabilizing off East Coast. Study finds a changing Gulf Stream off the East Coast has destabilized frozen methane deposits trapped under nearly 4,000 square miles of seafloor, scientists reported Wednesday. And since methane is even more potent than carbon dioxide as global warming gas, the researchers said any large-scale release could have significant climate impacts, aka jacked up weather, droughts and the like, and super floods and big storms. Scary stuff. It is unlikely that the western North Atlantic margin is the only area experiencing changing ocean currents, they noted. Our estimate may therefore represent only a fraction of the methane hydrate currently destabilizing globally. So they're saying that this could be a really big methane release going on. And it brought up Lord of the Rings for me. Two quotes for you there. Moria, Moria, wonder of the northern world, too deep we delved there and woke the nameless fear. That was glowing, little dwarf. And then the dwarves delved too greedily and too deep. Saruman. That's from Fellowship of the Ring. So what exactly did Total SA and BP crack open? When will these dwarves stop bleeding our planet dry and not worrying about the repercussions? Balrog, big fiery beast, comes from the ground because they dug too deep. Just seems too similar to me. But anyway, I say let it grow. Check out the article here. Let's hop over here to Climate Viewer, and what I'm going to do is exactly what we just did. I'm rocking the Matrix today. So let's check this out. Alright, you come up here to Alerts, go to Fire, and check all these. And they're going to take a minute to come up. We're going to go ahead down here to Bayou Area. Let me bring up the Bayou corn stuff. And we'll put the ring up there so you can see the general area. Now, some time has progressed between when I did the article earlier, obviously, and what you're seeing live right now. I think my big fire icon said NASA has not come up yet. There they go. Now we have the NASA fire stuff. Okay, looks like we have some new fires. Good deal. And then this is alerts, fire. I check everything. You can also come down here to satellite images and click Modus Visible. What that'll do is give you a picture. And this is a satellite photo. It'll be pretty recent. And you can see the smoke trails coming off of this group of fires. And I'm going to go to full screen. And then over here by the sinkhole, there is a pretty large smoke trail coming off of this series of fires. And then another smoke trail here. It's pretty faint, but it's coming from these two. It appears to be right next to White Castle. I had to get a burger. Making me hungry now. So, check it out. Here's how you do it. And, you know, you can obviously look around everywhere. There's plenty of fires going on. But a lot of people are concerned about it, and hop over to Climate Viewer and get your data on. There you go. Now, this fire is in America at the moment. As you can see, there are quite a few. And somebody was talking about the Baja one. I believe there was a smoke event coming off of that as well, and we can't see that right now. But, of course, we have the huge hurricane out in the Gulf making its way up. Let's check out the track on that real quick, because a lot of people are concerned. This is the current projections. Let's go ahead and get up the FEMA disaster declarations. Earlier I saw Ohio was completely lit up, but they've got it. These are currently declared disaster zones, so apparently now they're expecting it up in Vermont to have a really significant impact. But that's your current track for the hurricane, and this is the 24 hours. It should be here. 36 hours landfall. The eye will make landfall. Hurricane Sandy, everybody. And I think that's pretty much it for now. I could get into a whole lot more, but let's not. Check out Climate Viewer, and you know, no fear, guys. Knowing is half the battle.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is October 28th, 2012. It is Sunday evening, and if this video doesn't fly, I might give up on reading all this. This is the 5th time now. I've seen other people having problems. I guess when Google took over YouTube, they screwed up YouTube. Is what they did. Good job, Google. Because now the toolbar for the Creative Commons, where everybody, you make money off the Google ads. So someone dropped the ball and you're losing money. All right, there's your first thing. Put the toolbar back so people can add audio, which you make money off of, and get to the video too. Oh, and don't worry, I took a picture. I took a picture of that I sent you, the feedback. Alrighty, so get on the ball. Let's fix all this. There's important news out there that people are missing. Let's go into U.S. Canada. Now, there's a fist fight in Hawaii over gasoline, reported by Pastor Paul Bagley. I believe it was Maui and over by the Big Island Hilo, because they got hit by the tsunami. And Oahu, they ran up the 1,000 feet, a lot of people up on the mountain, and it didn't get hit too bad. All right. Report. U.S. Canada. Eye of storm forecast to hit New Jersey reactor identical to Fukushima Unit 1. Hot fuel recently loaded in pool. Gunson. 26 nuclear plants in area where Hurricane Sandy likely to hit. If power loss only plan is to let spent fuel pools heat up. No generators to pump in water. Also, Sinkhole geologist, I'm here to tell you I was wrong about low pressure readings. Newspaper fear gas could escape through Earth and present explosive risk. All right, let's see if I can get into Fukushima. You know what? Let's let it fly. I'm running some stuff for you right now. There'll be videos attached before and after, and if I can't get this video up, I'll find a different way. Alrighty then. Take care. 2 days down, and it's going to Monday. Please be prepared for everything. And for the naysayers out there, when you try to warn them, don't get upset. You know, and they say, oh, I don't see anything. I don't see anything on the news about it. Listen, just tell them they laughed at Noah too. Okay? Hey, remember they laughed at Noah? I guess they weren't laughing when the ark door closed. Alrighty then. Just keep that in mind and tell them that. That's a Diana saying. They laughed at Noah too. Alright. Alright. You take care. Let me see. Let me get in here and see if I can publish this. And I'll see you on the flip side. Stay tuned. Be prepared. Don't panic. Get as many friends around you as you can. And if they tell you to leave the area, leave the area. Alrighty? That's what happened in Katrina also. When they were told to leave because help was not going to be there for them and they stayed, you see what happened? If they say leave, just look at it and decide. Just, if you have to, get out. And then you can always go back after it's over. Alrighty then? And take your pets with you. Alright, make sure everybody has food, take the pets, and go wherever you have to go to be safe. Take care, and I'll see you again on the flip side. And I'll keep you updated as much as I can.
This is the Fairwinds Energy Education Podcast. I'm Kevin Hurley. We're here with Arnie Gunderson again. It's the week of the 28th. Thanks for coming on, Arnie.
Hi, Kevin. Glad I could.
I want to start out talking about one, topic that we're receiving most of our emails on right now, and that's the Hurricane Sandy, and what that means for U.S. nuclear power plants. Should we be running for the hills?
Well, this hurricane is huge, and it's occurring at the full moon, which means that tides are high. But the real issue is likely to be the storm surge, which is essentially the extra height in the center of the hurricane as the water comes in, and the waves. And then, but more importantly, will be the flooding, the inland flooding. The waves and the storm surge will likely do a lot of destruction on the New Jersey coast, but likely not do too much damage to the power plants. My expectation is that it will be flooding related and high wind related.
But these power plants should be ready for that.
The plant can withstand relatively high winds, but the transmission grid can't. That's all those transmission towers that are all over the states. So what's likely to happen is that the power lines will go down and the plant will suffer what we call loss of off-site power. And that's what happened at Fukushima Daiichi. The off-site power was eliminated. At that point, the plant, if it's operating, the plant will automatically scram because it's got no place to send its power.
Now, when you say scram, that means to shut down the reactor?
The control rods are going real quickly, and the nuclear chain reaction will stop. The plant needs to drop its power immediately because there's no wire at the other end to send it anywhere if the offsite power is lost. So what happens next, though, is that the diesel generators have got to turn on because there's no other alternative source of power. Some of these plants have 2 diesels, and some of these plants have 3 diesels, and they're designed so if one of the diesels fails, they can still get by.
You've talked before about loss of off-site power. I guess, can you just explain why off-site power is needed on the nuclear plant?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, but a nuclear plant needs power to generate power. It's got ancillary systems that have to run off of power. And so as it sends power out to the grid, it also sends some of that power back into itself to run. Almost 5% of the nuclear electricity is used to run the pumps that make the electricity. So when off-site power is lost, the plant is forced to dramatically reduce power real quickly, and then it still needs to be cooled. You'll hear in the next 2 days that we've shut down the plant. We've safely shut down the plant. What that means is they've stopped the chain reaction. But what Fukushima taught us was that doesn't stop the decay heat. There's still as much as 5% of the power from the power plant that doesn't go away when the plant shuts down. And for that, you need the diesels to keep the plant cool.
So if and when the plant loses off-site power, the diesels kick in to keep the plant cool, and those diesels fire up no problem.
Well, when I was at Northeast Utilities back in the 70s, we had a hurricane come in, and we lost off-site power. The plant scrammed, and we had two alternative ways of producing power, and one of them didn't work. So we were down to one diesel, and we sat for 6 hours and on just one diesel until the off-site power was restored and we could get power into the plant to help with the cooling. The plant's designed to run on one, so of course the Nuclear Regulatory Commission would say everything was safe and sound, but I'll tell you, as the plant operator, as the people running the plant, it's a little bit of a nervous time to realize that you're on your last fallback. You just hope that the last fallback keeps running.
What should plant operators and managers in these companies be doing in preparation for Hurricane Sandy?
It would be better if the plants shut down before they lost the off-site power. As a hurricane comes in, they'll know that pretty soon there's going to be high winds, and while the plant itself may withstand the high winds, the transmission won't. So it would be better if the operators, instead of waiting for the power to fail, shut the power plant down ahead of time. And the reason for that is that when a plant scrams, that's a sudden shutdown, that's a pretty severe jolt to the systems, and it's a challenge to the safety systems. Whereas if the operators can bring it down slowly over 5, 6, 7 hours ahead of time, that's less of a challenge. Sort of the difference between slamming on the brakes and coming to a gradual halt. It's less stressful for the power plants. So I'm hoping that there's 26 power plants in the East Coast that are in the area where Sandy is likely to hit. And hopefully as the storm track becomes better defined, the plants that are most subject to it, likely New Jersey and Pennsylvania, preventatively shut down, and that would, of course, minimize the impact, the jarring to the nuclear reactor and its safety systems.
So in the event of a loss of off-site power, we're talking about the diesels, and it's quite possible they'll be down to relying on their last diesel to keep the plant cool, and that keeps the reactor cool. From Fukushima, though, we know that the fuel pool needs to stay cool as well. How do the fuel pools factor into this?
The nuclear reactors are not designed to cool the fuel pool off the diesels. And the theory has been that, well, pretty quickly we'll get power back and we'll be able to cool the nuclear fuel. So the reason they didn't cool the fuel pool with the diesels is because those pumps require a lot of power, and you need bigger diesels. So no one wanted to buy bigger diesels, so they basically have penciled the problem away and said that, well, we don't need those diesels for 6, 8, 10 hours, so therefore we'll figure out a way of cooling the fuel pool even though we've lost off-site power. There's a problem there. There's a lot of problems there, as we learned at Fukushima. The fuel pools, especially this time of year, some of these plants are recently refueled, and they have hot fuel in their fuel pools. The fuel pool churns off an enormous amount of moisture, even in the best of circumstances. And as it gets hot, if the diesels fail and the pumps aren't on, the water will heat up several degrees an hour and start throwing off more and more and more moisture. Well, the buildings are not designed to handle high humidity. So in addition to the fact that the fuel pool's warming up, you're throwing an enormous amount of humidity up into the air as well. And the last thing is this was a study done by Dave Lockmont back in the 90s. He discovered that the fuel pool liner seams are not really designed to approach boiling water. And in fact, the stainless steel liners in the fuel pool may unzip if the water gets too hot. So there's a lot of problems with allowing a fuel pool to overheat, and yet we've deliberately built our nuclear plants so that the only fallback in the event the diesels turn on is to let the fuel pools begin to get warmer.
And how long would it take for a fuel pool to boil?
Well, it depends on how much fuel is in the pool. All these pools are full, but more importantly, some of those reactors, those 26, have recently refueled, so they have hot nuclear fuel in the fuel pools. And in that case, that's a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. So, Arnie, Hurricane Sandy, what's the bottom line? What should people be thinking?
Well, it's a big storm, and it is likely that there'll be loss of off-site power for quite a few of these 26 nuclear plants that are involved. And that means the diesels hopefully will all turn on, and at least one of them really must turn on in order to safely get through this. The chances of a diesel failing are less than 1 in 100. So if you have 2 diesels, it's 1 in 100 times 1 in 100, or 1 in 10,000 possibility of both diesels failing. That's not remote, but it's not. I got to head for the hills today. Kind of a problem. We need to keep track of what plants are experiencing loss of off-site power, and hopefully management and the NRC is forcing these plants to preventatively shut down ahead of it. It's just less stressful on the power plant.
Arnie, thanks for that update on the hurricane. Now, a quick change of topic. I know you received quite a few emails last week, people concerned that there may be a fuel pool fire in Unit 4. Can you tell me just a bit about that?
Yeah, we were inundated by phone calls from as far away as Peru and emails from all around the world about what turned out to be a hoax. Someone on the internet misinterpreted a bunch of data. And then other people on the internet started to take old Reuters stories from 1.5 years ago and change the date and put these Reuters stories up. But it was a hoax, and Fairwinds was. We were constantly talking to reporters and people who called in, as well as trying to respond to some of the emails. This is a case where the internet, well, it's wonderful for access, provided just awful data.
You and I were talking right before the podcast, and you expressed that you thought that this hoax drew attention away from a bigger piece of news coming out of Japan right now.
You know, there really was an important story coming out of Japan this week, and that was this report from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute that talked about how much radiation is in the Pacific, and how it's not decreasing as they might have thought it would. There's a world-class organization based on Cape Cod called Woods Hole, and they study the ocean. They just came back from the coast of Japan, and they found that the benthic organisms at the bottom of the ocean, benthic means the bottom-dwelling organisms at on the ocean floor, are not seeing a decline in the amount of radiation that they're carrying. Now, they were very surprised. They had thought that the Fukushima accident occurred 1.5 years ago, and they could go back now and they begin to see a decline. So the message is that the fish in the Pacific near Japan are still contaminated, especially the ones that feed on the bottom of the water. But the other message is that the Woods Hole was surprised that it's not going down. Now, they reached the conclusion the reason it's not going down is because Fukushima Daiichi is still leaking into the ocean. So that even though the blast into the atmosphere essentially was, 95% of it was done by April of 2011, the end of April 2011, that we're still seeing the plant leaking into the ocean. Now, Tokyo Electric is building a wall along the coast. It's going to be 100 feet deep. It's not an up wall, it's a down wall. to prevent leakage into the ocean. But they're not going to be done until 2014. You know, we talked on the other podcast about the fact that the fuel pool is not going to be done until 2015. So Tokyo Electric has quite a few problems, and they can't spend enough money on any of them to get them solved in a quick way. So Woods Hole has come out and said that this is certainly the worst release of radioactive material into the oceans ever in the history of nuclear power, and that it's not stopping. It's going to continue until these plants get rid of all the water that's in their basements.
And at this point, the damage is done.
And will continue to ooze radiation into the water. You know, the Tokyo Electric now is. Where is this coming from? It's probably a good question to ask. Where is this radiation coming from? It's the nuclear cores are melted down, and they have to be cooled. So you're pouring water across radioactive uranium and all of its daughter products. That water then is leaking into the basements of all the buildings on site. They're sucking that water back out of those basements and pumping it back in to cool the reactor again. But in the meantime, they have a giant filter on it, sort of like the Brita filter on your sink, but huge, that's trying to absorb some of this radiation. Those filters get so hot that they have to be put into a football field-sized place on the Fukushima site. They're running out of room to store the water. Within a year or two, there won't be any more room to store the water on site. This problem is not going to go away tomorrow, and it's not going to go away even this year or next year. Likely, water management is the single biggest problem with Fukushima Daiichi. And assuming there's no earthquake, the biggest problem that Tokyo Electric is going to be facing is water management. The water continues to come in from the groundwater into these basements, continues to get highly contaminated, continues to leak out into the ocean, and the filters they're trying to capture it on become so radioactive that they have to move them out to a football field on site, and that football field is rapidly becoming full. So what to do in the long term with all of this radioactive water is the biggest problem that Tokyo Electric has to face, assuming there's no earthquake that knocks down Unit 4.